This is so weird, but so cool, and I am so thankful that you are here. I stopped in last Sunday, and can everyone hear me okay? I have a pretty loud voice, so I came in last Sunday. I live downtown, and of course I work for the World-Herald, and you know, I was aware of all the things that were going on. It was pretty heartbreaking, just witnessing all the things that were happening in our country and in our city, and I was drawing about it all weekend, and I was really exhausted. I mean, we're all exhausted from the last few months, and but we all know that tonight is Monday, so that's good. We know it's Monday. And I came down here to kind of check it out, and we did a tour of the entire building. And honestly, I didn't know much about it. I was so moved by walking through this building, seeing the ballet studio, seeing the areas where people can learn to play music, seeing the culinary areas, the theater, the gallery space, seeing the political cartoon exhibit. I was so moved and reminded that creativity and art can bring hope. And I teared up here and I went out to my car and I cried. And so then I made a post about it on Facebook, and I posted some photos. And the reason I'm telling you this is because a friend of mine that I met in Prague last year, when Tom Becca, who was here, and I co-hosted a trip to Prague, and our friend Liz was on that trip. We met a woman named Michaela Merton, who at the Blacklight Theater in Prague, and we became acquaintances and friends and have kept in touch. And she saw that post and about how that I posted on Facebook about how creativity and art can bring hope, and then she was posting about that to her people, to her fans, to her friends throughout Europe. And it's an example of how one thing, one beautiful little spark can impact, you know, far more people than we can imagine. So anyhow, I just wanted to mention that, and I'm so grateful, truly grateful to be here, and that you're all here. It's, again, a little strange because I like to move around, I like to interact with people, but, you know, I feel like there's this force field, so I'll try to keep my distance. And I've been told that I can keep the mask off, otherwise I don't know that you would hear me. So I'm going to just talk about it, as Adam mentioned earlier, going to tell you a little bit about my background very quickly, and my process as a cartoonist, and give you a little bit of my personal story along the way. And then if you're ready, we might do a couple little creative exercises so that by the end of this, you too will be a cartoonist. And then we'll go look at the exhibit. So when I was a kid, I loved to draw. I grew up in South Omaha, and my dad was a drummer, a jazz drummer, and a singer, and he also, to make extra money, fixed up old televisions and sold them from our front porch in our small South Omaha house. And he would advertise his televisions in the classified section of the Omaha World-Herald. So every Sunday he would run his ad and have an ad, you know, promoting his TV. So every Saturday night, actually, we would drive to the World-Herald to pick up an early edition of the Sunday paper because he wanted to make sure that his ad was in the paper, and he was, you know, a little bit OCD, as I am, and he wanted to make sure everything was okay. So I would make the drive with him down 13th Street from South Omaha to downtown and pick up the Sunday paper so that he could make sure his ad was in there. Well, for me, as a kid who was like 6 years old, that was the greatest thing in the world because I got to see the Sunday comics the night before. So I felt like I was a time traveler. It was awesome. So we'd go back to our house, and did I mention I'm the oldest of 5 kids, 1 bathroom, small South Omaha house, filled with broken TVs, like in every room of the house, plus my dad's drums in the middle of the living room with all the TVs. It was a little crowded. So I would take the Sunday comics and I'd run off to whatever space I could find to draw. Maybe, maybe my bedroom, I guess, which also had story. So I would copy what I saw in the Sunday paper, and I would draw Charlie Brown and Wizard of Id and Snoopy. And then I'd take these drawings to my mom, and my mom would say, "Oh, these are great. These are so awesome." And then my dad would take these drawings of Snoopy, and he'd scowl. And he had this big, deep, booming voice, and he'd say, "Don't you know what a sin it is to not be original?" I was 6. It was grade that I learned that original sin had no Snoopy. So anyhow, I wept. That's a sensitive kid I was, and I cried. And I threw him away. And I decided at age 6 that I was done with my art career, But no, I wasn't, because it was in me. It was instilled in me by God or the universe or whatever forces are out there that told me that I needed to be a cartoonist. So I went back to the drawing board, essentially, and I wanted to prove to my father that I could be original. And another word of his was unique. So I wanted to be unique, I wanted to be original. So I came up with my own character, my own dog, Doggy the doggy. Doggy's like this cool, happening, swinging cat, dog, whatever. But I love Doggy because he has like these cool threads, And so Doggy was like, I meant to say that you might imagine, if we have all these TVs and the drums, my parents saved things, so they saved all of my drawings. So this is actually a drawing from, age 6 or something like that. So I had this love affair with newspapers too, because we were subscribing to the paper every day, and so we'd get that early edition on Saturday, but then get the Sunday paper again on Sunday. So it was great. We had twice the newspaper. But also my uncle Ed Koterba was a journalist who was born in Czechoslovakia, but started his career at the World-Herald and then went on to become a syndicated columnist for Scripps Howard and the Washington Post. He was a member of the White House press corps during the Kennedy era. And sadly, he was killed in a plane crash shortly after my birth, so I never got to meet him. But I grew up hearing all of these stories about him from my father, about his world travels, about interviewing Wernher von Braun, the father of the Saturn V rocket that would take human beings to the moon. I got to hear stories about my uncle, attempting to land at the South Pole as a journalist, and also all of the things that he wrote about, the Soviet Union and all the political goings-on in Washington. So journalism, newspapers, got into my blood, just maybe from those stories, I'm not sure. So I love newspapers, and I love journalism, even as a kid. So I combined the two things. I combined Doggy and my first newspaper at 5 or 6 or whatever, the Doggy the Doggy News. Unfortunately, I wasn't a very good speller. Doggy will be the best cartoonist, or the best cartoon. So, and as Katie Kasher will note, there have been typos in recent cartoons I've done, but that's a whole other story. Anyhow, so I'm going to take you through, I'm going to kind of fast forward and take you through my creative process. Basically, I kept cartooning, I kept working at it, I kept losing sleep, trying to get better and better and better and better, drawing cartoons in high school and in college, until finally, after 9 years of knocking on the door at the World-Herald, begging them, demanding, please look at my work. Finally, after 9 years, I was hired as the cartoonist for the World-Herald. Some of you might know this story, but not long before I was bagging groceries at a local grocery chain, and considering maybe that that I would go into that field of work, which is honorable work, especially these days. Thank God for grocery stores and the people who work there. But that was the track I was on, and I was actually making, because I didn't like bagging. I actually kind of like bagging groceries, so I love going to Trader Joe's where I can kind of like do my own bagging, and but I didn't like the cold or the heat or whatever. So I tried to get on sign duty and making chalkboards, not realizing I was stepping on toes, and so they fired me from sign duty, and they said I had no artistic ability. And then a few months later, the World-Herald finally said, all right, we'll hire you on a trial basis. That was in 1989, and no one to this day has ever, is there wood I should knock on? No one has ever said you passed the test, so. Anyway. So, I love talking about the creative process because I truly believe that we are all creative in some way. And just because if you don't draw or paint or play music, it doesn't mean you're creative. If you're doing accounting work, if you're doing construction work, whatever it is you're doing, you have to be creative all the time. As a parent, as a grandparent, you're creative. Thinking through problems and solving them, because that is essentially what it is. It's problem solving. So what I do with my cartoons when I'm trying to come up with an idea, is I feel like I'm standing. Am I blocking the view? Can you see me better now? I try to input information into my brain, so I'm taking in information. I'm reading news stories. I'm listening to what people say. Overhearing conversations, so be careful what you say because it might end up in a cartoon. But I'm like taking in the information, and then I'm on a daily deadline. I'm drawing 5 days a week. I put all this stuff into my brain, and then I don't do anything. I go drink coffee. I go for a walk. I practice French. I practice my mandolin. I do something else. But I'm working. My brain is working because our brains are like supercomputers. They're the most amazing thing ever because, have you ever had that moment when you have like this light bulb moment? You've been trying to figure something out and you can't figure it out. And then suddenly you're in the shower doing something else in the middle of the night. Like, oh, there it is. Problem solved. That's your brain, your subconscious working on a problem for you. So, I kind of feel like not that I have it figured out, but there are ways to do it where you can input the information, and you have to do the work, you have to do the research, you have to think hard about something, but you also have to just be human, be mindful, be in the moment, breathe, go for a walk, look at the sky, just be. And more often than not, those ideas will come to you, whatever that is. So that's my normal workspace, or it was my normal workspace pre-COVID. As you can see, I'm very well organized. I was drawing with pencils, pens, brushes. I was painting with watercolors that I get from St. Petersburg, Russia. And there was no collusion with those watercolors. There they are, those beautiful watercolors from Russia that I have not used since March. But it's okay. There's hope. I often just, I still do this now, although I will tell you in a minute how I've changed my process. I will start out sketching on paper, and I just look for ideas on the back of scraps of receipts in my car. Like, I had this idea. Where was it? It's under my car, under the seat of my car, or maybe under my car. My brushes, my ink. Okay, so I was saying, I'll go do something else. I'll go for a walk. So a few years ago, I had this kick where I fell in love again with apples. I mean, not just Apple computers, but, you know, as a kid, you grow up, you eat apples, apple a day, that whole thing. And I got away from it. I don't know, I heard, oh, maybe there's too much sugar or whatever. And then I thought, no, I really love apples. So I just did this weird deep dive, and I went to the grocery store, possibly the one I once bagged groceries at, I don't know. But there's like a million options for apples now. They're like crossbreeding apples with pears and oranges and kumquats or whatever else. So anyhow, I did this thing with apples, and I just like fell in love again with the apple. Had nothing to do with cartooning, had nothing to do with me coming up with an idea. It was just rattling around there somewhere in the back of my mind. Meanwhile, one day I'm on deadline and I have to come up with a cartoon for that day. Here's the topic. What's the solution? Here's the problem. What am I going to draw? I don't know. And then I'm just kind of sketching. That's how it works. Okay, I'm going to take you through a couple recent cartoons and some semi-recent cartoons. I love to travel. I love to fly. I once lived in Europe and was flying back and forth often, which is not cheap. But if you don't have a car, you can save money and save up for flights. Anyhow, I love flying though, and in spite of all the stuff that is entailed with that, unfortunately now, of course, that's a whole different story. So I did this cartoon. I'm not sure when, last year sometime, and USA Today ran it. So it made me happy to think about all those people on airplanes reading USA Today and looking at that cartoon and looking over their shoulder like, is he here? Here's the cartoon. For your convenience, we've added more seats. And please note the toilet is now located in the overhead bin. Thank you. So last year when the scooters were introduced to Omaha, and of course we have constant construction, I just wanted to do something a little playful. It's centrist. I love to poke fun at everybody if they deserve it. I'm not going to get super political with these cartoons tonight, so. But I will tell you that I have literally in the same day, I have been accused of being a right-wing fascist and also a liberal, whatever, left-wing, part of the left-wing media. That's what's wrong with this country. Same day. That's happened more than once. So I think that's pretty good, you know? I'm a registered independent, and again, I'm a centrist. I say that I'm a passionate centrist because I think it's so important to be aware of all the voices, all the sides. But the truth isn't usually over there or over there on either extreme. Sometimes it's up here, you know? And it's kind of this Buddhist thing to take kind of the middle path. But it sounds wishy-washy to people, or it used to. I think it's growing in popularity to be an independent and to be a centrist. So again, that's why I say passionate centrist. Anyhow, so here's a cartoon that, as of today, I don't think is as valid because there's a new jobs report that just came out. But I did this early on during COVID, and with social distancing, the unemployment line seems even longer. Okay, so I said that earlier when I was talking about pens and brushes. That's how I used to work. So I had an iPad in my possession, an iPad Pro, as a matter of fact, for 3 years. And I never used it. It collected dust, and my son, Josh, kept saying, Dad, this is so you. You have to learn how to draw on this. Like, no, No, and I love technology, but when I was living in Austria, I had to have all the things. I had to have the pens and the pencils and the brushes and the inks and the watercolors and the scanner and the printer. And in my fantasy world, because I have this huge imagination, I don't know, maybe it's just, I have Tourette syndrome, so I promise to not start twitching too much. I won't swear too much, but but that's part of the Tourette's brain, is part of the creative process, right? And so anyway, I literally had fantasies, like waking dreams throughout my day that for years that, oh, I draw on the iPad, and it's made my life so much easier. And I'm at a cafe sitting in Paris drawing on my iPad. I don't need all this stuff. But then I come out of that daydream, I'm like, oh, I don't know the first thing about the iPad, and it scares the hell out of me, and I'm not going to draw on it. And I would try it, and I can't do it. It's glass, and what is this? Oh, I can't do it. And I was secretly kind of ashamed that I hadn't embraced it, because I think I'm a guy who will embrace something and dive in. Nope, couldn't do it. And every year or so, I'd pick it up and try it again. Nope, can't do it. Nope, oh, no, don't make me do it. So at the beginning of COVID, my son Josh says, Dad, I think it'd be great if you and I finally, he was in Florida, and I haven't seen him since early December, and I normally would have seen him by now. So wouldn't it be great if we could, like, this would be a way for us to be connected if we started a comic strip together. I said, yeah, that would be cool. And I'm thinking, oh, but like all that extra paper, all the extra stuff, and I'm working from home, and it's that stuff, and I'm not going into the office. Where am I going to get a studio? I mean, you guys have been open. I could have come here. This space is great. He says, Dad, the iPad. I'm like, oh, no. So I did it. I picked it up, and this is 2 months ago. Still 2 months ago, I said, nope. And then a couple days later, I picked it up again, and I do not know what happened. I do not know what miracle happened, but I just started drawing on it. And it just like all happened. And it was, I can't explain it. Truly, for me, one of the most amazing dramatic things that's ever happened, and it has truly changed my life. I can now draw from anywhere. But like what it has allowed me to do creatively, before I'm drawing cartoons that are this big, and if I want to put some detail on somebody's eyeball, I have to squint, and like I probably should have gotten a magnifying glass, and I feel like I'm painting trinkets at a gift shop or something. Now I can like, use my fingers and pinch and squeeze or whatever it is I'm doing, and which when you have Tourette's is a weird thing when you're like, but that's a whole other story. If ever you see a cartoon, you're like, is that like a Picasso? No, that was one of his Tourette's days. Anyhow, so I can like zoom in on somebody's eyeball, and I can put a shadow in, and I can put like, make it bloodshot. And I'm like bringing it to me. Now, most readers probably won't notice that, and that's cool, but I like to think on some level it is having an impact, And anyway, it's just really super cool. It's not saving me any time. In fact, it's saving me more time. But I am loving drawing on it. So earlier, I had a photo of me, with all the stuff. And so now, this is what it is. And sitting at my little orange fur mob table made in Paris. So I'm not at a cafe yet. So here's some cartoons made on the iPad recently. This one is the Zoom Fatigue Syndrome Support Group. Kind of like how we are here. For the Iowans here, this is a recent one. Dethroned, Steve King. But I mean, even like these, like the clouds of like smelly garbage. I mean, that like being able to like, I was trained as an oil painter. I have not oil painted in years, so it's like I'm tapping into this oil painting thing. I'm just loving it. This is today's cartoon. May we listen with our ears and with our hearts. Oh, thanks. This is one from, but I had a blast doing it. It was, when petition drives turned to petition drones. And because we're all masked up, well, I'm not, but there's one early on. What curve? The Earth is flat. Flatten the curve. Tom Beckett can attest to this. We talk about this all the time. We get a lot of really angry, well, mail, but it's tweets and posts and everything else. I got angry comments from flat earthers. True story. I'll take questions here I actually had hate mail on this and from flat earthers, and I thought it was a joke. It is not a joke. They are out there, and I won't even go down that path here. I'm going to zip through a few more here. That was when the shopping mall was going to open. Shop till you drop. I had another idea that in hindsight, it's a good thing I didn't draw it, but instead of Nebraska crossing, it was going to be this skull and cross. That's one of the very first ones I drew on the iPad, showing a packing plant with the cattle going in and those disgusting COVID balls. I don't even want to look at those things. Apparently, it's not just cruise ships. I don't know what's going on with oil now, because for a while there, the price of oil was dropping, and no one would take the oil. But just from an artistic point of view, I had a great time painting the ocean. It felt like oil painting. Just a few more. White House Tavern open for curbside pickup, featuring disinfectant daiquiri, Lysol and tonic, sanitizer sour. Adam, did I have a gin on the rocks coming? So earlier I was talking about my uncle having interviewed Wernher von Braun, and I grew up with this love of space. My dad would actually call me in sick to school so I could stay home and watch the Apollo launches. And how many here watched the SpaceX launch recently? Wasn't it just, I don't know, it was great. So what I meant to tell you about my Dogie character is that one of those newspapers that I was making declared that Dogie had become the first dog to land on the moon. This is right before the Neil Armstrong landed on the moon in 1969. I don't know how that's possible. I drew about it. I wasn't born yet, but anyhow. So I drew this newspaper where Dogie is the first dog on the moon, and my mom and I were at a department store in the toy department, and we go in, and there's this display of Snoopy dolls where Snoopy is dressed as an astronaut. And there's a banner that says, Snoopy, first dog on the moon. So my dad, his big thing about originality, I thought, here, I've done it again. Shoot. So I'm just planting that seed because possibly Dogie will be coming back. I actually, at that moment, I threw Dogie away, and I vowed I would never draw about him again. But I kept drawing about space. Every time I have an opportunity with my editorial to draw something about space, I will. So several years ago, the Vatican announced that it's okay to believe in aliens. Well, as I mentioned, I get a lot of hate mail, a lot of strange mail, but I actually had a call from our security desk at the World-Herald that said, hey, you've got a visitor here. Well, I've had stalkers. I wasn't expecting anyone. I said, no. They said, you have a visitor. You need to come down here right away. So I went down there, and this was my visitor. And he was splayed out on the security desk like they're doing some kind of like alien autopsy. So To tell you how cartoonists are viewed in this world, I took my new alien friend through the newsroom, and okay, I know everybody was on deadline, but they just kept working. I'm carrying an alien through the newsroom. So to get a little attention, what do you think I did? I danced with it. And then a couple of people were like, oh yeah, Koterba, yeah. Dancing with an alien.
Seems about right.
Exactly, seems about right. I mentioned that my uncle Ed had covered Kennedy. That was before my uncle's death. In fact, there's a video, a very surreal and poignant video, when during one of Kennedy's early press conferences, Kennedy comes out and the first thing he announces is the death of my uncle. It was weird to hear Kennedy say the name Koterba, and he pronounced it correctly, but it was just this kind of this Forrest Gumpian kind of very surreal moment. So when on the 50th anniversary of the Kennedy assassination, I drew this. He gave us the moon and left behind of world possibilities. Becca was in Dallas that day, broadcasting live from near the
I was at the Grassy Knoll. Yeah.
Grassy Knoll. Yeah, you called me or messaged me to say that the Dallas Morning News had run that cartoon.
I saw that cartoon in the Dallas Morning News on the 50th anniversary of JFK's assassination.
Yeah, it's poignant stuff. So there's a local regional astronaut. Is that a regional astronaut? I don't know. An astronaut from Nebraska, Clayton Anderson, who has been in space a couple of times, and there was one cartoon I drew about him that I can't remember. What was the cartoon, Liz? It was. Oh yeah, the trash from the space station, and yeah. So I did this cartoon about Clayton Anderson, and you know, didn't think anything of it. Well, one morning I'm going through all my email at the newspaper, and I get a lot of spam, right? So I'm going through delete, and I see subject line, you know, greetings Earthlings or greetings from space or something like that. I thought, oh well, that's obviously spam. So I went to delete it. And I thought, well, wait a minute. I opened it up, and it's an email from Clayton Anderson aboard, at that moment, aboard the International Space Station, 200 miles above the Earth. And what I didn't know is that my friend Liz, who's here, had, I don't know what magic she worked to make connections with people, but eventually that cartoon was beamed to the space station. Now maybe, you know, that was 2007, maybe by our standards in 2020, maybe that's not a big deal. To me, that was like a miracle. It was amazing. And so Clay and I became friends, and a few years ago he emailed again, and I definitely did not delete that message. And he said, "Hey Jeff, I'm going to be going back up into space on Discovery. Would you be interested? You know, you and your family, would you be interested in coming to my launch?" I said, "Yes." He said, "But you got to do two things for me. You have to draw two cartoons that I'm going to take on my trip, like into space." Like, yeah. Oh, okay, happy to do. So they needed the cartoons like months in advance. I guess the cartoons had to go through, you know, screening or something. And I didn't want anything political. I wanted to be upbeat. So the first idea came very, very quickly. The astronaut and the cartoonist. Someone recently pointed out, you should have said the astronaut and the artist. That would have been more nice alliteration. No. And we kind of that shaved head thing going on. In fact, when I was at the launch going through security said, "Are you Clay's brother?" Like, oh, no, I wish it was. Anyhow, the second idea, the second cartoon, I could not come up with because it just, I couldn't do it. I don't know why. I was struggling with it. And then, as I've mentioned, he came back. I finally made it. Thank you very much. Really quickly, I'm going to show you just a couple examples of this new comic my son Josh and I are making. It's called Chirpy. And of course, it involves a dog, also a cat, and a turtle. The dog is saying, eat, sleep, poop, repeat. Eat, sleep, poop, repeat. The cat says, why do you keep saying that? The dog says, it's my to-do list. The cat says, I'm surprised play isn't on there. Mind blown. I need to reassess my priorities. And it's kind of this philosophical thing sometimes too, like the turtle is kind of like this, I don't know, he's like an Alan Watts kind of Zen Buddhist kind of guy. Turtle. The dog says, what's up there? The sky. What else? The stars. What else? The everything. Anyway, thank you very much. Now it's your turn. We're gonna do this. I don't know where we are in time, but we're gonna do a quick cartooning exercises. Everybody has alcohol, right? Well, if you. Okay, so here, conveniently stationed near me is a whiteboard. I'm not wearing my glasses. I should probably put glasses on for this, because then I might accidentally what if I drew on the walls like when I was a kid? Okay, so you have paper, you have pens. All right, I'm going to need you to list three. We're going to list. First, we're going to come up with a list of characters. So these are like generic. By the way, these cartoons we're going to come up with. I mean, we can make them political, but let's think more like New Yorker kind of cartoons. You know, just keep it light. It's been a heavy week. Is that even spelled right? Oh my gosh. Okay, so just to give you an example, it's like something random like robot. Okay? All right, so let's have another one, like another character. Chef. Perfect. I'm like a marker hoarder. I don't need all of these. Okay, well, let's go with 5 for right now. Pilot. Excellent. By the way, I have no idea what I'm doing here, so. All right.
Broadway actor.
Broadway actor. Can we just say actor to kind of? Okay. But keep that in the back of your mind because it may come into play. Okay, one more. Alpaca? Yeah. Oh my. How do you spell? Llama? Is that with 2 L's? Yeah. Katie is really going to think I don't know how to spell. Okay, if I can. All right. Okay. Now we need a location. So, cliche location, like if you see a New Yorker cartoon. What's like a cliche location? Or not? DMV, that's good. Now, I'm not saying we need that. I'm just saying, like, I always think of like a deserted, like a little island or something. Okay, DMV. All right. If you can all right, another location. Sidewalk Cafe. All right. Bar. Was that Tom? I'm shocked. Okay.
Las Vegas. Nice.
What happens in the bluff stays. I mean, okay. Right. One more. Saturn? Wow. I love. Dang. Awesome. All right. Okay. Finally, an action. Cleaning, eating, sleeping, something. What do you? Eating?
Snoring.
Wait, snoring? Did I hear nothing?
Mountain climbing.
What? Mountain climbing. Oh. Why did I write so big? Jeez. Okay. 2 more. Cycling? Yep. Ooh. Yep, I'll repeat them here. Okay, so actions we have, it's like a game show. We have eating, snoring, mountain climbing, cycling, kissing. And again, we have for character, robot, chef, pilot, actor, llama, location, DMV, sidewalk cafe, bar, Vegas, Saturn. All right, so now what we're going to do is we can brainstorm together. You can do this on your own. But we're just going to randomly mash up some things. But if you feel called to put the robot in Vegas, this is a great way to get the creative juices flowing. So, but we can talk this through together and come up with some cartoons, or you can just kind of work on it on your own. So, do we have all these? Can you see all these? Okay. All right. So, what do you think? Should we take one of these? Which character is kind of jumping out at somebody right now? A llama? Oh man, how do I draw a llama? Google this. Okay. Where's the llama? What? The bar. Okay. And I guess, I mean, eating would be obvious. So let's. What do you think? What's the llama doing at the bar? Cycling at the bar. For the love of God, what does a llama look like? Isn't now I'm like a police artist? Can you describe that mask? Jeez.
It's like an alpaca, but different.
This is. Okay. Well, thank you. So, and again, but like try something on your own here. Feel free to, don't. So I don't know, I mean, will this llama be wearing a mask though right now?
Oh, sure.
Does he have ears? Is this like a larger? Pointed?
Yeah. Even bigger.
Really? Well, hold on. Let me put my mask on. Come over. You have a. Okay. This is the weirdest game show I've ever. You realize this isn't going to help me one bit. Oh, that's going to be tough to wear that mask. But all right, so we've got a llama on a cycle, on a bicycle. Is he riding through the cafe? This is weird drawing this way. This is.
Looks like a kangaroo.
Everybody's a critic. I'm sure I'll be criticized on Twitter for this next. Well, here's the other thing I wanted to say about coming up with cartoon ideas. How many of you read The New Yorker or have looked at those cartoons in The New Yorker? They're not all that well drawn, all of them, right? Some of them are, but some of them aren't that great because it's about the idea. And this gets back to creativity. It's about the concept. It's about the idea. You don't have to be a great artist to be a great cartoonist. It's about the concept. It's about the humor. It's about the, about the idea.
But I used to understand the New Yorker.
Oh.
I used to think they were funny.
No, not so
Now
much.
it's one out of one per issue.
Well, because I love France, we'll make this Café the Paris, put the Eiffel Tower in. Okay, so what do we want to do? What do we want to have? Are people like shocked that or the llama's like, you know, riding through here? Is this guy like, is somebody drinking? Bingo. Okay, well, I drink too much. Okay, I like that. So maybe let's say the waiter here is, so the waiter, let's say there's a waiter here, and he's saying something like, you know, what would he say? Like, you say, you've seen a llama? Why are the two L's in llama? That's so weird.
No more drinks for you.
No more drinks for you. Perfect. That's excellent. Yeah, I mean that's there. You know, that's a kind of a rough go at it. So, thank you. Okay. How are we doing on time? Are you?
Turn around again so I can see the other
Oh.
stuff, yeah.
Okay. Once again, we have pilot actor. Llama is gone. Wait, was that Sidewalk Cafe or bar? Oh, that was bar. Well. Oh well. I guess we didn't do. Oh, we did cycling. Okay. All right. Think about this quickly here. I think for this one, I want everybody drawing. Really want you to like dig in here and again, if you use stick figures, I don't care. It's not about the drawing. Oh. Really? Oh, I've started erasing it. Sorry. It's gone. I'm sorry. Okay, so I want you all to do one of these, and then we're gonna go around and have volunteers. You got one. All right. Should I? You want to share it with you want to talk about it? I can hear. A robot dancing on Saturn. Is that?
Yeah, and a chef is trying to kiss him, and the robot gets so excited he's jumping up.
I love that. I love these. I wish you could. Can we just pass this around? Is that allowed? No. Okay. All right. Okay. Maybe we'll set it on. Can we set it on the bar? Okay. This is really great. I love. Okay. The robot is dancing, and there are these arrows underneath the robot's feet, showing the robot dancing. It's really, really cool. Okay, he's going to take it around. You want to grab the Steve's over there? Oh, excellent. Okay, so Diane has come up with cooking up another boring driving test. It's the Chef Snore MV. And that's a really good chef there and a really good car.
The hat's way too big.
No, but that makes it funny. That's great. That's really great.
Horrible driver.
Would you rather explain these yourself, or you would rather have me?
It's kind of better that you do it.
Okay, all right.
It's harder when you do it.
No. Okay, I'm going to set this down here. This is excellent. right, let me see the. Yeah. Oh. Steve, this is by Steve Jordan, former World-Herald reporter for many years, one of the most excellent journalists you'll ever know. He's here. It's an honor that he and his wife Helen are here. They were supposed to be going to Hawaii tomorrow, right? So Steve was known for his Hawaiian Shirt Friday at the World-Herald. So I see you dressed appropriately, Steve. It's Friday. Steve has come up with, this is, why weren't you drawing cartoons when you were at the World-Herald? This is great. This is excellent. It's a robot riding a bicycle on the rings of Saturn, and he's saying, so that's what it's for. And I love how creative process works. Like, we walked in here, we had none of this, and you all have already come up with some excellent cartoons. We're going to keep doing this, but I think there's some questions here. Did you have a question? Yes.
30 years ago, I had come out to a professional group, and I remember when I called the World-Herald, the call went right to you. And that night when you spoke, you said, yeah, I don't have a secretary, I'm all by myself, I get my own pencils and stuff.
Yeah.
They don't know where to find me except at deadline time.
Yeah. Well, it is, I didn't have a secretary then and an assistant, I guess I would say, now. But no, there are fewer of us in the building even before COVID. So, it's been difficult for journalism. So no, I'm just a one-person show. And I will say that, and I can, Tom Becca can relate to this. I respond to, I would say, almost every, if not every, email or message that I get, and even the really angry ones. So when I first started, pre-email, I get these angry letters, and then, with email, it became easier for people to go on a rant. So my first response, because I was, younger and less mature, I guess, I would immediately write back and point out all of their spelling and grammatical errors. I thought, that's kind of being a jerk. I still want to, though, but I do write back to everybody, and even if they're really angry, and as Tom can attest to, more often than not, people will respond and say, I can't believe you actually wrote back. I was really mad about that one thing. I can't believe you actually responded. And I will try to engage with people, even if we can, my big thing is, can we just please get along? Even if we are diametrically opposed, can we at least, not hate each other at the end of this conversation? And I have actually become friends with some people who started out really angry with me. Case in point, a woman an elderly woman who's since passed away, but she called me and she said, Jeff, I really normally like your cartoons, but I'm so mad at you for this cartoon. And I let her go on, and we got to talking and found out that we were kind of neighbors. And then she asked me if I'm of Czech ancestry, which I am. And she said, well, I'm not, but I also make Czech pastries. I make kolache. Would you like to stop by for some? Yes. I will tell you, for over the next many years, we were friends. I was friends with her and her husband and their family, and I would shovel their snow, and she'd make me pastries, and it was beautiful. So I love that. I love the personal interaction. I will tell you that it is really exhausting dealing with social media. In fact, the World-Herald did a story today about this event, and the World-Herald posted this on Twitter, and someone responded, hey, Jeff Koterba is going to be at the Pay Center. Somebody responded, who cares? Like, come on. Why take the time, why take the energy to do that? So.
Let me ask you, now how do you handle that? Because I deal with the same sort of thing. And how does it not get to you?
To you.
Yeah.
It gets to you. It gets to you. It's like I get a stomachache out of, like, come on. I normally just kind of I used to try to respond back, and I thought, no, there's no future in that. And then I tried to ignore it. Kind of started tweeting out in response to that in a positive way, but that just bugs you, you know. And like, there's like, I just want to, like, I tell people, like, even I will tell them, like, I just want to have a discussion, even if we disagree, and they will still be horrible. Not always. How do you deal? What do you?
I look at myself as two people. There's topic of the person and topic of the product. And not everybody likes Campbell's soup, but Campbell's soup's doing okay, you know?
Yeah.
And so I look at it that way. And so if I got, you know, like when you tell me that I'm full of shit, it hurts my feelings because we're friends. But otherwise, you know,
Yeah.
You know, if it's somebody I care about, somebody I like, somebody I know,
Yeah.
that bothers me. But if it's somebody I don't care, know, or whatever, some troll on Facebook, I just don't worry about.
Yep.
Second question, also a comment made 30 years ago. You said you don't really look at other cartoonists, but you want to be accused of taking someone's idea.
Yeah.
How do you avoid it now with all the social media?
Yeah.
Just, you know, unlimited late night comedians we have.
Yeah.
Online and everything.
Well, I just want to say we're going to and wrap it up here and then go look at the exhibit, but we can keep the conversation going. First of all, I'm impressed that you remember what I said 30 years ago. Secondly, I'm deeply disturbed that I'm old enough that I gave a talk 30 years ago. That's a lot of deadlines. I think I've drawn something like, I used to draw 6 cartoons a week. I draw 5 now. I think I've drawn somewhere around 9,000 cartoons. Quickly, what was your question again?
We have time for one question.
Other people's ideas.
Oh, yeah, I don't look at other cartoons like I did when I was starting out, because you can't go to college to really become an editorial cartoonist. You look at other cartoonists to see how they do it. I went to college to study journalism and painting, but I looked at other cartoons just to see how they did it. But I don't look at other cartoonists necessarily, or cartoons. I try to find inspiration in literature, in music, and nature, and in friendship, and things like that. So, yeah. So much. All right, one more.
I just wanted to comment, though, that if you look at the cartoons in several different papers, especially if there's something that's really newsworthy,
Yeah.
there tends to be a lot of similarities simply because you're instead of starting out with a variety of things, you end up with some in the same location type of thing. So they end up being the same but similar.
Yeah, there have been a couple times when I and 3 or 4 other cartoonists have drawn something similar, because it's what's in the news, and you know, and so then I started like trying to outsmart the other cartoonists. I literally go through the you know, the Rolodex in my head of like, okay, I wonder how so and so is going to draw on this. Okay, how can I draw something that is more me than it is him, and try to like stay ahead of it. And with the news cycle constantly changing now, it used to be if you drew a cartoon, you know, for syndication or something. I'm syndicated to about 850 papers around the world, and that's become challenging because it used to be the news cycle didn't change so quickly, and you had a few days. Now it's like, what's going to be topical tomorrow? The news cycle changes like minute by minute. So thank you so much. We're going to go look. The exhibit is great. Thank you very much.